morning, good night, depending on where you're watching from. You're welcome to Regnum Continuous Legal Education. My name is Ruth Obu, and on this program, I'm not always here alone, but I'm always here with some barristers who will be doing justice to today's topic. So before I let the cat out, I'd like to go on a short break. But when I come back, I'll introduce to you the topic of today's discussion as well as the barristers. Please stay with us. We'll be right back. Welcome back. If you're just joining us, you're still watching Regnum Continuous Legal Education, and my name is Sister Ruth Obo. Like I said, when I come back, I will introduce to you the barristers and of course today's topic of discourse. So with your kind permission, I would like to start with Christ Ambassador Barrister Idara Ebo, Peace of the Father.
Peace.
How are you?
Fine.
You're welcome to the program.
It's only Father.
And then I also have in our midst Christ Ambassador Barrister. I don't even know which one should come first. It's Barrister, Christ Ambassador, Barrister Kenneth Itoro Abasi. Peace of the Father. You're welcome.
Good evening.
Good evening, sir.
Welcome, viewers.
Go on. Okay, you're welcome to the program. Like I said, I will introduce them and of course the topic of today's discussion. But before then, yesterday happened to be one of their birthday, and that is Barrister Kenneth. Happy birthday to you. I wish it fell on today. You know, it would have been a double blessing to you that it's on your birthday that you're coming on the program.
Thank you very much.
All right.
I want to use this opportunity to thank all those that gave me a shout out, said a word of encouragement to me on my birthday. I also want to use this opportunity to remember my nephew, Nathaniel Kufre Bernard, whose birthday will be coming up tomorrow. Yes. It's like we were supposed to come at the same time, it's just that I came earlier.
Okay, happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you, bro Nathaniel, in advance, and to all the Mayborn. We have a lot of them, and all of them are, dignitaries. That's how God has made it. All right, here you go. The topic of today's discussion is compatibility of spouses as witnesses and the protection of matrimonial communication. I'd like to say that again. Compatibility of spouses as witnesses and the protection of matrimonial communication. This is the topic of today's discussion. So today they are going to be lecturing I and you. So you have to grab your popcorn, grab whatever it is that would keep your eyes glued to your TV. All right. So without much ado, I'd like to start with you.
Yes.
Yeah, because like you're a newborn. I'd like to start with you. So there you go. Who is a spouse?
Yeah, a spouse is, according to the Oxford Languages Dictionary, a spouse is a husband or wife when you considered in relation to being a partner. It is referred to the wife by the husband, and it is referred to the husband by the wife. That is a spouse. So a wife can refer to the husband as a spouse, while a husband can refer to the wife as a spouse.
Okay.
Then another thing is that the word spouse is actually born out of a Latin word, sponsus, which means to pledge or to promise. So a spouse is someone that has pledged his life to you or promised to keep his life for you. So for a man or a woman to refer to the other person as a spouse means that they must have had a covenant, because if we want to look at a legal covenant, yes, they must have had a covenant to be together for life. So they are partners, they are, they are in a covenant of marriage. Let me use that word. They are in a covenant of marriage. So that is a spouse.
Yeah, thank you so very much. I'm coming to marriage. It therefore means that it's not every union that is, marriage, because according to your definition,
yes,
this is acceptance. This is an agreement. You have agreed that you're going to be with the person, right?
Yes.
Yes. So it therefore means that in some union.
No, dating is not you cannot.
No, I have not made mention of dating.
No, I was trying to preempt you.
Okay.
So dating is not. You cannot call a person you are dating a spouse. You cannot call a person you are courting a spouse. It is at the point where the promise or pledge has been exchanged. Legally, yes. When it has been exchanged, that is when the other person becomes your spouse.
Okay, thank you so very much, yes. Barrister Idaremo. Do you have anything to add?
Well,
to
if I may add anything there, I think the issue of a spouse can only exist when there's a legal union of marriage.
Okay.
That's my own approach to that issue. So any other relationship that one may say that is my spouse, when the relationship is not legally binding, whether it's customary or legal marriage, I wouldn't call such relationship. I wouldn't term them. I would, if they call themselves spouses one way or the other, I wouldn't. To me, I wouldn't recognize it, because the law defined that relationship that there must be legal marriage before one can say A is my spouse or B is my spouse. Okay. That's my own view about it.
Okay, thank you so very much. So in the same vein, what is marriage?
Well, marriage is a legal union between a man and a woman.
Okay.
Must be a union between a man and a woman, formalized either by the custom or by the statute. What do you mean by the statute? That is the laws of the environment. Like in Nigeria, we have something like Marriage Act that moderates how marriage should go about. So marriage must be between a opposite sex. Opposite sex. That's my own view of life.
Emphasis on opposite
yes.
sex. Yeah, I'm still coming back to that. Maybe your colleague here, Barrister Kenneth, has something to add to what marriage is.
Well,
thank you very much.
Well, in my own case, what I want to say is I want to bring up an issue that was raised by a newly wedded person. Okay. And so let us hear what he said. We copied this from Facebook, but I think it's worth sharing. Okay. She said, I am 25 years old. I have been married for 4 months now, but I have really regretted and I need your help. Before I married my husband, he used to bring all sort of cars to visit me in my house. And when I asked our marriage, I got to know that he works at a car washing bay. So the cars he brought to show me were cars that were left for them to wash at the washing bay. How could he lie to me like that? How can I trust him in this marriage? The most painful part is that I am a graduate and I just got to know that he is not a graduate. please advise me because I am very confused.
Interesting.
Yes. So advise her. I want all our viewers to call in so that we can advise the young lady.
All right, if you're just joining us, you're still watching the legal education. Yeah, and a question just popped up right now from a 25-year-old girl who just got married. So please, if you have any advice for her, kindly call us in. Our phone line is open and we are live on YouTube and on Facebook as well. Please let us advise her. Seriously, this is, I don't know. I'm not supposed to take sides here, so I'll just let you do your thing because I still have a lot to say too.
Will you want to take sides?
No.
The young laughing at all. You see, when that issues like that come up, some a young lady of 25 years have been married for 4 months. The first issue is they have been married for 4 months. They now realize the man is a car washer at a washing bay and that the guy is not a graduate. The first thing that calls is that there was no proper cutting, there was no proper dating. Somebody was using somebody's head in that relationship. And if you ask me, the two of them are not serious at all. The man is not serious and the woman is not serious. Because it is during courtship that you understand the nature of the relationship you are going into. But these days, our young ladies don't know that role. They don't play that role. You see, a relationship begins at Crunches and ends at Food Affairs. It begins at Chicken Republic and ends at, can you name one of them?
Tantalizer.
At Tantalizer. I mean, do you know that man? The truth is that you don't know that man. Because my own position is that if that lady was into proper cutting, at least in one of the days he would have been in that man's house when the owner of that car would have called and said, bring my car, the one I gave you to wash. Sometimes he would have been in the bathroom and then she would have been the one to pick that call. And then when the guy comes, I say, somebody, that car that you are driving, somebody called and say you should bring it. Is that car not yours? Please tell me the truth. Because if you ask me, I don't believe that that man cannot be a car dealer. I don't understand. That woman can stay and work with that man to become, if she actually wanted to marry a car dealer, he can actually stay with that man. They all grow from that point till the man becomes a car dealer. So many have done it. They met a man at the WAEC level and they grew up together and the man is today a professor. The man is a captain of an industry. So which means that she herself, she's not even serious.
I think they both were living fake lives.
Yes, both of them. That's why I say both. Because the man, you know you are washing, why not tell the woman, I'm washing a car at a bay, but I want to become a professor. Will you marry a potential professor or a potential car dealer? Then let it, ring at the back of their minds that this is where we are starting from and this is where we are heading to. So both, the woman went there because the man has so many cars with the intention of taking one or two or three of the cars. That was bad. You understand? Maybe sell the car and run away with the money.
Cruising with the car.
That must have been her mindset. The man too was, this person is a graduate too. Before she realizes that I am not a graduate, let me marry her. She will be the one feeding the family. Wow. So both of them had, strange criminal tendencies. So now the Black's law in the Black's law English dictionary defines marriage as the legal union of a couple as spouses. The legal union of a couple as spouses. That is what the English dictionary defines marriage to be, while the Oxford Language Dictionary defines marriage as the legally and formally recognized union. That is what my colleague was trying to say. Legally and formally recognized union of two people as partners. Partners in progress.
Okay.
In a personal relationship. The reason why we even brought up this topic was in today's world, when partners, married couples, will fight dirty and then snap those scenes They are fighting in the public. The woman may even be completely naked. And then they will snap those things and put them in the public space as social media.
You know, they don't, this snapping is not done by them. It's done by the passerby. Content
Really?
creators. Yeah.
Have you really watched some of them?
Yeah,
At least I've watched one of them. It was the woman that told the man, snap me. I saw it. I have watched.
It was not content creator.
I have watched one of the cases. It was the wife that asked the bystanders to snap her and paste. I saw it. So when next it happens, check. You might find out that it is the woman. Like in the case, the one that happened at Enugu, it was the woman that brought people into the man's office, and then when they were naked, he now asked the people that she brought to snap them and put on the social space.
Wow.
So that is why we brought up this topic: compellability of spouses as witnesses and the protection of matrimonial communication. Because the first thing I want to let you know is that even that body that they are snapping into social space is matrimonial communication.
Yes.
It is the husband alone that should see you.
Yes.
It is your wife alone that should see you. So that is number one communication between the spouses. And then by the time you people fight, you bring it out to the public. Maybe the people were fighting indoors, and then all of a sudden either the man or the woman runs outside naked, and then the other person will pursue, and then the neighbors will see them and bring their phones, and then they will say, snap, snap, and put, see what the woman did to me. You have not been able to protect that matrimonial communication, that vow you took in your personal relationship as a spouse of that person.
Do you think, oh, sorry, I think it's like a cry for help, you know, because some people can be in a particular area. They already know how this man treats the woman, or how the woman treats the man, and they have nothing to say about it. So this happens, when this happens, the woman might, you know, when she sees unknown faces.
Why not run to your father's house? Whatever happened to your father's house? If you have been able to run out of that house, why not look for a neighbor's house, hide, dress up, and run to your father's house? Because, like, for instance, under customary law, it is the parents that will hand over the woman. In fact, as we get along, you will find out these things. These things we are just trying to say in preamble. So now, the Oxford language uses say marriage is a legally and formally recognized union of two people as partners in a personal relationship. It didn't say in a public relationship. So that was why we brought out these topics, so that we let people know what is the effect of that action, not only in fighting. You understand? Let us even remember what happened to Sapphira in the case of Ananias and Sapphira. It was her inability to manage the information that led to her death. Let's just leave out Ananias. Ananias had told a lie, he should have died. But Sapphira, if he knew how to manage that information, before we conclude this topic, we'll find out that he would have been spared. You understand? But because of inability to manage that, of course, it may have happened in this environment. You understand? Where a husband had traveled and told the wife, I'm traveling, and the whole of the neighbors said that the man has traveled. Am I right? Yes. And then eventually somebody get to see the man around. Somebody get to see the man around and immediately inform say, see the man you said went to Port Harcourt. I saw him at where is that shopping life place? I saw him there, and then somebody is dressing up and running out. Sometimes it leads to fatalities. Somebody may die. But if that information was managed properly, that incident would have been averted very seriously. So sometimes what is a personal relationship becomes a public company. A public company. And so what do we do? What do we post? We post profit and loss. we post profit and loss. Because your husband can leave the house and say, I'm going to Lagos, and some people were after him. Or your wife can leave the home and say, I'm going to Calabar, and some people were after her, and then the only person that could use to track her is you. Which bus is she taking? Some people are so open. Yeah. He's taking a KTCO. Call. Where is he? Where is she? Where is he right now? And you call. Where are you right now? Oh, I'm under Itam flyover. I mean, do you know what those people want to process that information for? Some marriages are so loose. So that was why we brought up this topic of compatibility of spouses as witnesses and the protection of matrimonial communication, not only to bring out the legal aspect, but also draw people to the moral and aspect of it and the personal relationship you swore to be in.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yes.
When you give your own definition of marriage, you laid emphasis on the opposite sex, right? Gender, yes. Sorry to say. Yes. So yeah, I want to bring this up now. This is also done legally, where you have to go to maybe the court, or you go to church, and then the two are brought together as one. So what happens then if it is being done the other way around, if you know what I mean? Like same gender coming together as one, and this is also taken to the court, or it is taken to, I'm putting it this way. I don't know here in Nigeria if they also go to court. I have not witnessed it. I only see them on social media come out to, display their, I don't know which word to use. I'm trying to be very, very nice here. Yeah, so is it done? And if that happens now, if they come together as one, do you still consider that a legal marriage or something?
Well, by the definition of marriage, especially under our jurisdiction, and under the canon law, the supreme law, under which all other laws derive its existence, that is the Bible. It cannot be the other way around.
Well, it is happening. That is the sad truth. It is happening.
Yes. When God created man, God gave man option. The only issue that man is abusing the option. Man is abusing the option.
I thought you wanted to say, did God give man another man? Did God give man another woman? I could give a woman another woman. I thought that is what you have just nailed it that way. Yeah. So,
I will leave you to finish up that.
Anyway, marriage is an institution that was created by God. If you go to Genesis chapter 2, verse 24, you understand it is an ordained covenant relationship between a man and a woman. Between a man, under Genesis chapter 2, verse 24, it is between a man and a woman. It's a lifelong sexually exclusive relationship which brings children into the world. Procreation, the entire of the world would have been very useless without that relationship that God created. The relationship of a man and a woman in an exclusive relationship, a sexually exclusive relationship, with the intention of ensuring that when I leave, somebody remains.
Okay, so that the earth will not be
the
empty.
earth will not be empty. There will be no void. There will be no vacuum in the world. People will continue to come in. And then don't forget that the main reason why God created man was for man to take dominion on earth and to worship him. You understand? So at the end of the day, if a man and a man are getting married, or a man and a woman, or a woman and a woman are getting married, we will find out that both of them, because that was not the creation of God, both cannot fulfill that obligation of procreation. And so their relationship, to my mind, is just like the man that was given 1 talent and he decided to hide it under the soil. And when God came, he said, give me my talent. Let me add it to that man that even brought 1 gain. Let me gain something. Because if you look at it, Anna did not have a child. And then you keep praying that I wanted a child. And we know the product of that child. Who was that child, right? We know that was Samuel. And then God used Samuel to do a lot of things. So you don't know whether that child is God wants through you is going to be a prophet of God, whether he will be the one that will be used. Don't forget that a woman brought in Jesus into the world.
Yes.
That became the savior of the entire world. So that was the purpose of marriage. It was not, I don't know. Well, since I don't know, let me not.
Okay, thank you so very much. Yeah, these people also go as far as adopting children because they know they cannot bring another life into the world. So that's just by the
Why do they adopt? No, they should procreate. There should be a way that at least they should plant a child in their womb. No, the other one of the man, I'm sure, should be a wife, right? So there should be a way of, planting a child in their womb to grow. Let us see how nature works. So if they cannot do that, then to me, I look at the bleaker point of marriage. And on this topic, I will not even consider or talk about what God did not put in place.
Okay, thank you so very much,
Right.
Barrister Kenneth. In the same vein, I'd like to know the different types of marriages we have.
The different types of marriage. The first type of marriage we want to talk about is customary law marriage.
Okay.
Now, under customary law, what we look at is the mutual consent. That is marriage under native law and custom, and then the mutual consent of the parents. That is under customary law. It is the law of the people that want to get married. And now, the essential features is one, bride price, and then the handing over of the bride. So under customary law, you cannot give yourself in marriage. You cannot. Under customary law, it is somebody that will definitely give you in marriage.
Okay.
Yes. If your father is not there, then your most senior uncle should be there. They are the people that will hand you over and then collect bride price. That is under customary law. The under customary law, another thing that we have to look at it is that it is potentially polygamous.
Wow.
The man has the rights or privilege to marry more than one wife, depending on his ability.
Okay.
He can marry one wife. It is potentially polygamous. Bride price is involved, and then the handing over of the bride. Those are some of the essentials of a customary law marriage. So we look at parental consent, we look at the payment of the bride price, we look at the handing over of the bride to the groom's family,
Okay.
and then we look at how does the woman feel. For instance, because under customary law, the parents can arrange a marriage
Okay.
for their daughter.
Okay.
Even
The parents can arrange a marriage for their son. The son is in United States of America, is in Lagos, is in Abuja. You understand? The parents can look for a beautiful damsel or a young man and say, oh, my daughter is in Abuja and I don't want her to remain that way. Let us introduce both of you. In the case of the woman, the parents can actually arrange a marriage and send the woman to the man where he is. So those are the essentials of. And then at customary law, marriage can be void under the following circumstances. One of them is that there is lack of parental consent.
Okay.
You will now realize that maybe the parents come together and then they look at the young man and say, we don't like this one. One. Two, our family don't normally marry in that family. There are a lot of reasons that may be given why we don't like their religion. Though Christ came and didn't create any church, but he created love. But you find out that some churches and some religious denominations, they are so selective of where they marry into.
Yes.
But to my mind, I think anybody that mentions the name of Jesus Christ once you hear them maybe praying and they say, in the name of our Lord Jesus Christ, or in Jesus' name, there should be that segregation, because Jesus Christ said, I am the way, the truth. Nobody comes to the Father except through me. And that at the mention of that name, every knee must bow and every tongue must confess. So that is the name that is above every other name, not the name of a church. But you now realize that maybe that in that family, let us not mention a church, maybe they are in this domination and they don't want their daughter. And even the daughter herself may not want to go out of that denomination. Yeah. So by the time he now realizes that the man is going to this, he say, no, I will not wed them.
Aside from that, it's not just church. Some people can decide to say, I don't want to marry from this state.
Yes, for this tribe, yes.
Like, from this tribe, I feel like what makes them say those things is out of experience. They have experienced these people, and so they don't want their children, their grandchildren to also experience these things. And I feel like it's not just once. Maybe it's just something that keeps happening, and so they don't want their children to experience them as well.
Yes, I agree with you. There are certain cases where those people, they don't mix. Maybe due to tribal wars. Tribal wars. There are some people that are still fighting tribal wars today. And so handing over your daughter to those people over there who are still fighting against you will not be wise. You understand? But if there is peace between the communities, I think they can. Then another thing is the non-payment of the bride price. Okay. It is void and voidable if bride price have not been paid. Now, if the parties to the marriage are within the prohibited degree of consanguinity and affinity, you understand?
Under
the prohibited degree of consanguinity of affinity, we are talking about, let me say my stepdaughter. My wife brought a daughter who is old enough for me to marry. Maybe she stayed in her 30s, but I am now the stepfather by virtue of marriage to her mother.
Yeah.
I am prohibited from marrying her. She also is prohibited from marrying my son, who I had with another mother, for instance. I'm not saying that, I'm painting a picture.
Yeah,
I had that one with another mother. Now, all of us are staying under the same roof. They are prohibited from marrying because of affinity. That is, when you say affinity, we are talking about the closeness with each other. We are sharing, by virtue of my relationship with her mother, we are sharing a common blood. At that point, so I cannot marry. There are a lot, if you look at it under section 3 of the Matrimonial Causes Act, those 3 and 4, you will find out those prohibited degrees, consanguinity, affinity, your mother's uncle, your father's aunt, all those people, you cannot marry them, no matter how you love yourselves. But in some other climes, all those things do not matter. All that matters is they love.
It happens in some countries.
In some countries, all that matters is that they love each other.
Yes.
And now that we are, like, for instance, we are talking about when we get to statutory marriage, that in some countries it is the woman that marries the man. In some countries there is polyandry, where the woman can marry two. A woman can marry two men. Now, a customary law marriage is between a native and a native. Before now, it used to be between a native and a native. That is a non-native. For instance, a non-Efak cannot marry an Efak person. That was a position before now. But by the time we get to that point, I think we have to deal with that. And it actually happened in the case of Savage and McFoy, 1909, one Renner's Gold Coast report at page 504. We'll talk about that. And then we also have the case of Julio Fonseca and Passman. Julio Fonseca was actually an Efik lady that was married to a Portuguese. And when the man died, that marriage was held to be invalid by virtue of the fact that the husband was a Portuguese but was domiciled in Nigeria. So by the time we get to that point, we say, so before now, a non-native cannot be married to a non-native. The people that have to be married to each other under customary law must be people, because of customary law was actually mirror of accepted usage before now. It is people that practice it that can enjoy it. Then another thing that we have to look at under customary law is, sorry for my, in Islamic law,
Okay.
the consent of the girl upon the attainment of the age of majority. You know, under customary law, the girl of 9 can be betrothed. You understand? I lump that up as customary law, though it is, you know, it is
Special.
it is law on its own because it is part of Sharia law. But let us look at it that affecting people that are acceptable to Islam. If you are an Islamic person, so let us lump it up as customary to those people.
Yes.
So now there is what we call facet marriages, irregular marriages, where a Muslim marries more than 4 wives. And in such case, the marriage is neither void nor voidable. It is irregular until the man divorces. If he married 10, he has to divorce 6 and then bring it within the number allowed by Islamic law. Now we have inchoate marriages. Inchoate marriages occur where there has been a failure to hand over the bride. I mentioned that the man has been married to, but they didn't hand over. There was no ceremony of handing over. And we have that in the re-intended marriage of Beckley and Abiodun, 1943-17 Nigeria Law Report 59. Beckley authorized his father to perform an Idana ceremony for the girl that she wanted to marry. I'm sure that should be Abiodun. And then she was not handed over to the husband. That is, Abiodun was not handed over to Beckley. So at the end of the day, Abiodun now saw another lady and wanted to marry. So his father now placed a caveat, approached the court and placed a caveat. In the process, it was discovered that Abiodun was not handed over to Beckley. And one of the conditions for customary law marriage is the handing over of the bride. So in any place where a marriage is, customary marriage is conducted, and then the bride did not follow the groom back home, that marriage is inchoate, it's incomplete. Inchoate means incomplete. So if a party to that marriage has stayed for 3 weeks and the wife has not come back home, it happens in some places. My guy, go first, later your wife is coming. If he goes out there and then he sees another lady and is ready to marry and the parties are ready to exchange, he's free. Because one of the conditions has not been fulfilled, which is...
What will make a woman not to go with her husband?
Some people, it has to do with their certain traditions. It has to do with certain traditions.
Does it mean that he did not pay all the dowry?
They have paid the dowry, they have settled everything, but sometimes maybe she's the only daughter of the family and the mother says she'll stay here and let them sort themselves out before she comes.
They may still have some right to perform
So,
certain customs.
Then if so, the man should know that there are some things that needs to be done and not go ahead and marry another woman.
if she was not handed over, if there are certain customs to be performed, after the marriage of that day, you hand over the bride. The bride may come back and perform whatever needs to be performed. But if the bride is coming back to perform, he is coming back under the permission and acceptance and agreement of the groom or the husband now. It's no longer groom. It's now husband. You cannot keep, under customary law, you cannot keep a married woman and not hand over. That marriage is incomplete. So in between, depending on the time frame of keeping, anything can happen. What we are saying is that if that matter gets to the court, like it went in the case of Beckley and Abiodun, that the court held that marriage to be incoherent, incomplete, and so the other party has a right to marry someone else. And then we have sororate and levirate marriages. Sororate and levirate. Sororate simply means that these parties are married. After they have been married, maybe one of the spouse is late. If it is the woman that is late, then the husband has the right to take another wife within that family and not conduct another fresh marriage, search for another bride elsewhere, and then marry again.
Let me understand. Did you say and not conduct?
And not conduct, yes. I mean and not conduct.
Okay.
If, for instance, Miss Tatum got married in that kind of family, and then the wife, Afyon, is late, that family will look for another wife for Miss Tatum.
One of their daughters.
One of their daughters, they are one of the extended family they will bring. That is what, under that circumstance, that levirate marriage, that is what it entails.
Okay.
And now, if it is Atom and Afyon also, and Atom is dead, dies, you understand? If Atom dies, then Afyon will look for a male within that family and then continue the marriage.
And what if this Afyon is not the choice of the brother in the family? Are they still going to force him?
You know you are not getting it right. Rather, you should look at you. I thought you sharp enough to understand that it is the custom of the people that look, now that you are married into that family. If your husband dies, you will accept somebody. When you used to hear you will accept somebody,
Even happened in the Bible.
You will accept somebody within the family. You
So
understand?
that means that whether you like it or not, you have to.
Yeah.
That was the
No, but that is the custom. But what I will agree with you is that maybe they can bring Nkoyo, and you say, no, I would have loved Arit. You understand? You have that choice.
Okay.
But what we are saying is that that marriage will not leave that family.
Okay.
And if it is the man that dies, and the woman is taking another male, those children will still bear the surname
Okay.
of the man that died. That is, he is now fathering those children on behalf of the dead person.
And then what happens when he also has his own children?
Yes, it's
a
part.
child from the same
Yes, it's part of the relationship. It's now
Is
an
the
extended.
surname, what I mean to ask is the surname going to change? Because he has his own name. His brother had his. They have a common surname, but the first name is different.
Yes.
Is his own child still going to answer the surname?
No.
of his brother?
His own child, the children that he has, he himself is having, is
Yeah.
going to answer the surname of his brother.
Oh, wow.
Remember that I said that the marriage is potentially polygamous.
Yeah.
That means that man equally has a right to marry another woman.
Yes.
And then those children from that other woman now will bear his name, his own surname. While the children from his brother,
From the wife of
from the woman that was brought in to replace his own wife, that was from the man that was brought in to replace his own husband,
Yes.
will bear the name of his brother.
It therefore means the man, permit me to use the word useless, because how can you have a child that
It's
child
a-
does not have your name? And do you think that practice is still going on currently? Because I see
What about
things changing already.
No, what about the case of Ede Tanesian? Ede Tanesian is 1932, 11 Nigeria Law Report, page 47, where the woman goes out, has children, and then the man that was actually the husband, the one that paid the bride price. What we are trying to say is that under customary law, it is the return of the bride price that brings that marriage to an end. It happened in Ede Tanesian. A case came up like that. It was Ede Tanesian. The woman went out, had children, and then the man was still alive. He now came and said, those children are his own. Because as at the time you went out to have those children, you did not refund my bride price. It's just that under the current dispensation, we may be saying that those kind of rules are repugnant to natural justice,
Yeah.
equity, and good conscience. But then, if the bride price was not returned, then those children from whoever man the woman met and had them belonged to the real husband who didn't father them.
But
But-
a very common custom.
It was a very common custom.
So, it's funny. It's
Like
funny,
Ede- like the
because,
Ede-
you know,
like the
in
Ede
Nigeria
Tanesi.
or Africa of today,
Okay.
they will gladly, move aside, because it's not just your name they are answering. It comes with responsibilities, and that includes sending them.
That was, in fact, that was one of the,
everything.
yes, that was one of the rationale in delivering that judgment,
Okay.
where they told him, what is going to be your gain? This is not your blood.
Yes.
When you claim them,
You're
you
going to-
you will be responsible for their training,
Yes.
responsible for their clothing, their feeding, and
Feeding.
everything. So that was why the court came to that conclusion that it was repugnant to natural justice, equity, and good conscience. But the rule of customary law marriage is very straightforward and simple. If bride price is not returned, the marriage subsists until the day the bride price. As we get along, you will get to see.
Can I have something?
Yes, you can.
I
Yes,
think,
please.
you see, in those days, the pride of a man was how many children a man have. And the major
And
occupation,
in some villages,
Yes.
it's still going on.
the major occupation then was farming.
Farming.
Yes.
And the man will look for so many ends to support him in farming. So let the wife go outside and bring people that will help him to farm. So there was a rationale behind it.
And that's the wife will not accept agree that her children
Yes.
assist him. You understand what I mean? Maybe they are too young to start farming, and maybe this farm work is very, very tedious. She will not allow, because she's still there.
Was there anything like tediousness in farm work in those days when they will not allow a potential child to go to school?
In fact, it was children that were heady. It was disobedient children that were sent to school.
To school.
It was once you are stubborn, they will send you to school
So that the teacher can beat you.
you. But the one that will be there were taken to the farm. But you see how the whole thing turned.
Yes.
These people that were sent to school so that the teacher will be turned out to be permanent secretaries of today.
And
You understand? And the whole thing
Feeding
changed.
the other ones.
Yes. Now we have woman to woman marriage.
The gayism we talked about.
Woman, that is not gay.
No. It's not the gay.
Listen.
Okay.
Yeah.
Listen, you get it.
All right.
This is woman to woman marriage. Like as in Meribe and Egu, 1976, 3 Supreme Court, page 23. What happened then? I think it was in part of Igbo land then. What happened then was, if the woman is unable to bear children, get the distinction.
Okay.
If the woman is unable to bear children for the husband, she will now go and marry a woman and come and give to the husband. So that she now has a share in those children, as in she is the one that married the woman. So that woman has a responsibility to her to produce the children, and those children will become the man's children and her own children.
Okay.
Are you getting the difference now?
I
There
do.
was no sexual relations. There was no kissing or whatever, oral sex or whatever. It's just that she marries the woman with the sole intention of procreation, brings the woman home. My husband, I cannot give you a child. This is a woman, try. And then all the children that are brought up under that relationship become the children of the man and the woman. That is what we
And
mean
then
by...
what happens to her work is just to bring forth children.
Yes, that was the problem. In this Meribe and Egu, that was the problem. The matter was fought to the Supreme Court that a woman cannot marry a woman. That the rationale, what they were fighting was that in as much as you brought a woman to that, is your co-wife.
Yes.
The man is potentially polygamous, and that this man now is the husband of that woman that you are claiming to have married.
So it
that
therefore
you
means
as a
that
woman...
the woman should not marry the woman. The man should rather go out.
Yes, that if you set the ball rolling, if you set the pace, say, look, I love this woman, marry her, and let's have children. That is different from you now saying, this is my wife. You are the woman, you say, this is my wife. That it is equally repugnant to natural justice, equity, and good conscience. As a woman to woman marriage, was not acceptable under the society, under the our society. Rather, that the man can marry up to 4 or 10 or 15 wives. So this woman that you are calling your wife is actually a co-wife.
Yes. The second wife.
A second wife. a third wife, a fourth wife, but definitely not your wife.
Can we know the tribe practicing this, or that practice this?
I said I think it was close to the Igbo tribe.
Well, not even only.
Okay.
Some part of them cross river.
Okay.
That's Tribum and
Upper
present
cross.
cross river
Yes.
practice that tradition. In fact, some men were very happy when one of his wives would go and marry for him. And the woman would be so proud that he has done something. Some will even have one child or two, but they feel that that is not enough. Let me now go and bring another woman for my husband. So it was something of, there was social implication in those days that that woman is very good. She went as far as marrying another woman for the husband, and the husband will be very happy. Even the family may be very happy too that that woman is so industrious to go and bring in more women into the family.
Okay, so the advantage now is that the man will not get to what is it called?
Procreation will confess advantage of that relationship was that procreation will continue. Maybe if the woman could not make it, maybe for one reason or the other, then the family line will not stop there. It will continue because another woman will come in refreshed and then bring out kids.
Okay, sorry, you proceed.
Yes.
Is that where the word "our wife"? I grew up to hear "our wife," and this was generally heard by the Igbos. So is that where this word emanated from?
I wouldn't think so, because look, see, customary marriage. Customary marriage is more of a family marriage.
Okay.
That is why, suppose I go to a village in Imo, any part, and marry, I become part and parcel of that community. You say our in-law. Then any woman marries into our family or to the village or the community, even the state, you now call that person our wife. Unlike a statutory marriage of one man, one wife. I was privileged in one day to be addressed by a judge. The issue of problem in matrimonial home came up. The woman was complaining that the brother to her husband does not give her peace in her matrimonial home. The judge have to address the woman. They look, in our society, you are married to everybody except one thing. It's only on bed that you are married to one person. And that is the concept of our wife. It's our wife. Just the presumption is that once you are married to a family, you are married to everybody. And so as such, everybody will take you as part and parcel of them. That is one of the difference between our system of marriage, our social orientation, to the English form of marriage.
Okay, thank you very much. Please, Barrister Kenneth, you may now proceed.
So what I wanted us to talk about before our time gets over was the issue I raised.
Done with the types of marriages?
No, let's proceed. Let's finish with the customary law marriage. We are still on customary law marriage. And the most important, one of the important things that we were to discuss was whether a non-native can contract a valid customary law marriage in Nigeria. And I raised two cases.
Yes.
I raised the case of Savage and McFoy. Savage was a freed slave from Sierra Leone. He came to Lagos to settle, got married to Susanna under customary law. But when he died in 1906, that was 1900. When he died in 1906, the wife, the Susanna, now wanted to administer his estate, and she was stopped and said that, look, this man was from Sierra Leone. he could not have contracted a valid customary law marriage in Nigeria. Then another person I tried to raise was the issue of Fonseca, that a Portuguese married an Efik woman under customary law. And then when the man died, Fonseca tried to administer the property, and they said no, that this man was from Portuguese, even if he was domiciled in Nigeria. So it is based on those two premises that I said, let us discuss, let us see whether a non-native can actually construct a valid customary law marriage in Nigeria. And now the first thing I want to talk about is that if you look at the premise by which they delivered that judgment, the premise they based their judgment, which was domicile. Domicile is either a domicile of origin or a domicile of choice. It is either a domicile of origin or domicile of choice. Anybody that is born before the age of 21 is taking a domicile of origin. But by the time the person is of age and capacity after the age of 21, is taking a domicile of choice. You understand? Now, this domicile of choice simply means that you can leave Nigeria, move to America and start your life and want to be an American.
Yes.
That is a domicile of choice, provided there is the animus manendi, the permanent intention to reside in that country. Now, what I'm saying is that if an American, if a Portuguese leaves Portugal, comes to Nigeria, and then shows the requisite animus to reside in Nigeria, of course, one of the visible permanent intentions is marriage. You will agree with me. He's married to somebody from Nigeria. Whether upon his death, whether the widow of that person cannot administer that estate on the ground that that person was not a Nigerian. That is what I want us to look at. First, I want to mention the provisions of Section 40 of the 1999 Constitution, which gives everybody freedom of association. And then marriage is number one association, right?
Yes.
Now, if you look at the case of Bell and Kennedy, Bell and Kennedy decided that there can either be a domicile of origin or a domicile of choice. Bell and Kennedy cited in 1868 Scottish division, one Scottish division, at page 307.
Okay.
Now, the court based their decision on domicile of origin. They did not base their decision on domicile of choice. Now, the man, Savage, that left Sierra Leone to Nigeria, was exercising his domicile of choice. You understand? So, by the time we go down, we will now find out that the customary court laws, for instance, that of Akwa Ibom State, if we look at from section 14 to section 20 of the customary court law, those issues have been changed. For the sake of time, let us not go into that. But those issues have been changed, that if a person is married under customary law, has accepted to marry under customary law, and the owners of the bride have accepted to collect the bride price, don't forget there are a lot of things that are involved in paying bride price. Go and bring yam, he brings. Go and bring 3 he goat, he brings.
Complete this house.
Go and complete this house, he completes the house. Now, why would that person, because there is a Latin maxim which will say voluntae non fit injuria, which means that he that consented cannot complain. You understand? You consented that those person, he should bring 10 cowrie shells, he brings. Those are the tradition. That is exactly what somebody from your own tribe will have provided to marry your daughter. I don't know if I'm making a point.
Yes,
that is what he will have also produced.
Yes.
Not that these things are different from what the son of the soil will have produced. Then it will be wrong at the end of the day. It will be repugnant to natural justice, equity, and good conscience for you later to now say that that person was not from Nigeria and so that the marriage was invalid. Let us not forget, if we even look at the customary law of Akwa Ibom State, which I have cited, it says if the properties that are to be administered are within Akwa Ibom State, you understand? Let me now use Nigeria. If those properties, like the case of Julio Fonseca, and Passman, the case of Savage and McFoy, those properties to be administered were in Nigeria. They were not outside of Nigeria. So I am now saying that the cases of Julio Fonseca and Passman, the cases of Savage and McFoy, they were held per incuriam. Per incuriam because the distinction between the domicile of origin and the domicile of choice, as expounded in the case of Bell Kennedy, was not brought to the attention of that court. You understand?
Yeah.
Because if you look at, finally, let me bring up the case of Young against Bristol Aeroplane Company, where per incuriam was defined to mean that those things that would have made the court to take a decision the other way was not brought to the attention. You understand? So there was no clear distinction between a domicile of origin and a domicile of choice. That decision would have been based on a domicile of choice. The man had come down to Nigeria or to Akwa Ibom State or to Cross River. He has stayed in Cross River. He owns a house in Cross River. He is married to a Cross Riverian. And so that shows the requisite animus manendi to reside in that place. He owns a business there. He wants to reside in that place permanently. He has children.
Yes.
So that was the area I was trying to correct, that under the customary law of, based on the Constitution. Don't forget that Section 1, Subsection 3 of the 1999 Constitution says that if there is any law, including customary law, which is inconsistent with the Constitution, that law shall, to the extent of its inconsistency, be void. So that means that if the man came in, has shown the requisite, and has freely associated based on Section 40 of the 1999 Constitution as amended, that person, upon his demise, his widow cannot be said, you cannot administer his property, you were not validly married because this man is not from Nigeria. Thank you. So let my colleague talk about statutory marriage, so that we continue from there.
I have a question, but
Please do.
For time's sake, let's progress, please.
Please do. Ask your question.
Okay, so I would like to know how that was later tackled.
You mean which one?
The case of the lady you just mentioned. I don't know.
The segregation.
Those properties revolve around the state. The state took those properties.
Even the children didn't have access.
Yes, that is what we are saying. That under the present, once the marriage is invalid, it affects the will, everything that was done, succession, it affects. That is as bad as that. I'm happy you're asking that question. Is total. Everything is affected. You are illegitimate. Those children are illegitimate. What they may be called bastards. You understand? So it affects the whole transaction from beginning to the end of the marriage. Because the marriage was invalid. Who are the children of the marriage? They were not validly. They were at that time.
Not validly born.
They were not properly born as at that time. But now Section 40 now says no. And then even
was this put to him so that he can follow due diligence? I don't know if there was. I don't think he would have done anything about it because he's not in Nigeria.
No, somebody came in and got married. You understand? He loved his wife. Yeah. It's just that they did not comply with the law of the forum or the law of the land, and it is the law of the land that is getting back at them. The relationship between husband and wife, I am sure those children will have a right in Portugal. Yes. These children will have a right in Sierra Leone. Yes. But definitely not in Nigeria. But we are now saying that under the circumstance of the Constitution, under Section 40 and Section 42 of the 1999 Constitution, that those children now will have had a right. Because the circumstances of birth of anybody is not an issue. It's a fundamental right that you don't make it an issue.
Yes.
You understand? But as at that time, remember that the 1999 Constitution, the 1979 Constitution, as at that 1958 and the 1909, they were not in place. And so what they used to deliver that judgment was on domicile. And they understood domicile to mean that the man is from Portugal. The man is from Sierra Leone. So he is domiciled there. He is only a visitor to Nigeria.
I'm glad such practices have been abolished.
No, my own problem was that there was a decision of the court as early as 1868 on the issue. Don't forget that this matter was settled in Nigeria in 1958 and 1909. But as far back as 1968, the Scottish court, House of Lords in Scotland, had delivered the case of Bell and Kennedy that distinguished between domicile of origin and the domicile of choice. The issue would have been, was the man up to 21 years of age as at the time of getting married? If he was, then he had the right to a domicile of choice.
Okay.
You understand?
Yeah, you have a question here from Sister Gladys Onyabo. She says,
Okay.
please, what about now that most countries abroad are adjusting their policies and regulations concerning marriages and the family matters? How can these be adjusted to favor both parties?
I don't understand the question. Let's get, so that we don't answer something else. Let's get it.
Okay, I'll take it again.
Okay.
Please, what about now that most countries abroad are adjusting their policies and regulations concerning marriages and the family matters? How can these be adjusted to favor both parties?
They are adjusting their policies of marriage
Yes, to favor others.
to favor others.
Yes. Let me take that again.
Yes.
Please, what about now that most countries abroad are adjusting their policies and regulations concerning marriages and family matters? How can these be adjusted to favor both parties?
Well, for instance, in America, let me take that.
Okay.
Let me see whether I can actually understand what she's saying.
Okay.
For instance, in America, there is what we now call pre-nuptial agreement.
Okay.
There is pre-nuptial agreement. And in fact, there are some marriages that have fallen, they couldn't, arrive at the point of marriage because the pre-nuptial agreement was not followed through. What we might call courtship agreement was not followed through. The greatest problem, like in the United States, is in the event of a divorce. In the event of divorce, that the property will be shared. Sometimes the sharing favors the wife.
Not sometimes.
Or most times, right?
Yes, it does.
Most times it favors the wife. In the Western world.
Not here.
Now, with the prenuptial agreement that has come in, both parties will now agree that, look, this marriage you are coming to, it is not for the purpose of you taking 60 or 70% of my property in the event of a breakdown. You understand?
Yeah.
I think, like we had defined marriage, it is a personal relationship. You understand? That is, for instance, like that prenuptial agreement now draws down the relationship back to a personal relationship and not a public one. So that even if in the event of a problem, what you people look back to is your prenuptial agreement. That is what will now influence whatever is being agreed upon in the courts. You understand? Yeah. If, for instance, people agree to have 2 children, and then maybe at the end of the day, love is so sweet, and then you people now have 4, then you people will now how you will adjust your prenuptial agreement to accommodate the extra 2. Because what people agreed in the prenuptial was 2. And now, love, you have now realized that, look, this thing is sweet now, let's have more. So, it is you now, if you were the woman that brought the idea of 2 kids, it is you now that will now approach the court and now file a caveat and say, I want another 2. You understand? But the long and short of the entire thing is that marriage should be a personal relationship and agreement. And that whatever we go out to face elsewhere should be based on what we agreed among ourselves, first and foremost. And so whatever Lord...
So are you also, do you think it is bad to have counselors?
No, counselors are good.
Well, you just made mention of, being between just the both parties as the...
Counselors only come in when what you people agree doesn't work.
Okay.
Counselors don't start from the beginning. You understand?
I feel like they do, because they would,
No, let me explain to you. Counseling is just like wanting to get into the university, for instance.
Yes.
You had gotten your school certificate.
Okay.
You understand? You had gotten. Nobody assisted you.
Yes.
You were the one that got it. And now by the time you want to go and read medicine, they now go and look and say, oh, you didn't have chemistry. That is when a counselor comes in and say, but you can do this course. It's close to me. You can read anatomy. Do you understand? Go and write the chemistry. By the time you finish the degree in anatomy, you can now join medicine. Go and read physiology. By the time, before you can finish, you can join medicine. You understand? But
Yes.
the first agreement with yourself was you wanted to read medicine. It's just that by the time you go, because of one issue or the other, you could not make it. And so you took. So how I see counseling is, it is when that relationship hits the rocks, that is when they need counselors.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Yes.
You may now proceed, or are you done?
Yes, let him
Okay.
proceed.
Okay, thank you so
With
very
the
much.
statutory marriage.
Back to types of marriage.
Well, in terms of marriage, but I think my colleagues have taken so much on the customary marriage,
Yes.
which is, in fact, I think more than 70% of marriages in this part of the world are customary marriage.
Yeah.
Yes. Then we have statutory marriage.
Okay.
At times people call it court marriage.
Okay.
There's nothing like court marriage. Nobody goes to court to marry. What is involved there is to go to the designated registry
Okay.
of a local government to get married. And if you look at the protocols of marriage, the requirements and the costs, I think statutory marriage is the cheapest form of marriage.
Yeah.
You just need 2 witnesses.
The cheapest.
Nowadays, it's not
you
only
need,
two
you need
witnesses.
2 witnesses. That's what the law says. The law says 2.
Two. Well,
Yes.
I have attended one where I didn't even have a place to sit. I think we were over 20.
Oh well, that was good. It's easy. It's very easy going, but the laws governing it, unlike customary marriage, like the degree of consanguinity and affinity still applies there. Unlike customary court marriage, customary marriage, it is strictly a man and a woman to the exclusion of every other person except either of the parties
Okay.
dies. The other aspect of it is that in statutory marriage,
So are you trying to say that the man does not cheat in any way?
well, in developed societies,
That is
you
what
cannot
is
try
expected.
it.
That is what is expected. That is the intention of the marriage. It is a monogamous marriage.
Okay.
It is to the exclusion, like Lord Penzance defined it, to be the voluntary union of one man to a woman to the exclusion of all others.
But this, will I term it illegality? It's happening. It happens.
It's not known to the law.
It's not known to
The law have not seen it.
and it's a ground for divorce. Not that it's not known. Under the Matrimonial Causes Act, it is a ground for divorce.
Okay.
Adultery is a ground for divorce. It is strictly between one man and one woman to the exclusion of all others, which means that even the children of the marriage are excluded from that marriage. They are only entitled to custody, maintenance, until they get to a certain age of about 18 years. All those children are not part of the marriage. And that is why if you feel you are even filling some forms, some standard forms, maybe you want to go abroad, they ask you how many children that do you have that are above 18 years. Those people are filling their own form separately because they are not seen. But if it were under customary law, all those children, all the uncles, all the in-laws, but once you are done with them from the age of 18, they are masters of their boat. Even if they are staying under you, but in some countries, they don't even allow those children to stay under you anymore. Like in the United States, they look for an accommodation. You get an accommodation for a child from above 18 years. So that is what is expected of a statutory marriage. Bringing your uncle and your auntie is not part of that marriage. It is the spouse, the man, and the woman. No other person. That is what we call statutory marriage.
And that's the stolen tradition?
That is the foreign tradition that was
Foreign.
brought in
Yes.
by the English when they came into Nigeria. And when they came, they tried to change all the customary law marriages. Okay, by the time we get there, you will see that under section 35 and 47 of the Marriage Act, if you are married under customary law, you understand, you cannot do a statutory marriage. And if you did a statutory marriage, which is the marriage you are talking about, you cannot do customary law. If you do it, it attracts 5 years of imprisonment. When we get there, you will see it. Okay. So that is the second type of marriage, which is the statutory marriage.
Okay, so we have only two?
No, not two. There is the Islamic marriage.
Okay.
Then there is marriage by conduct. There is marriage by conduct. Equity regards, there is marriage under the law, and there is marriage by equity. Yeah, equity regards as done that which ought to be done. You understand? So if a woman and a man have cohabited for like 7 years, they have children, they have represented by their conduct that that's my husband, that's my wife, the law will protect such marriage.
Okay.
Equity also looks at the intention and not the form. What is the intention of the parties that are living together? And we have some cases as husband and wife. So evidence of long cohabitation and repute is usually imputed as marriage. See the cases of Omudinjo and Omudinjo, 1957-11 Eastern Region of Nigeria Law Report, page 1, at 3 and 4, and then Akuwudike and Akuwudike, 1963, 7 Eastern Nigeria Law Report, page 5 at 7. Thus, where a man and a woman have lived together for more than 7 years and have had children, the law imputes marriage on the parties. So now another question that we'll look at before we go is,
I also have a question.
Does customary law marriage survive statutory marriage? Very important question, but ask your question. If you can't take that today, then we'll take it. Does customary law marriage survive the dissolution of statutory marriage?
Let's take this instead.
Okay.
The question you just asked.
Yes, so that's the question. The question is, does customary law marriage survive the dissolution of a statutory marriage? And if I am to answer that question straight on, I will say yes. A customary law marriage survives the dissolution of a statutory marriage for several reasons. The first reason is that customary law is the issues on customary dissolution, and the entire operation of customary law is handled by the customary court and the customary court law, while dissolution and the entire operation of statutory marriage is handled by the High Court. That is the first thing. When I'm talking about jurisdiction now, I'm talking about jurisdiction. The next thing I want to talk about to show you that they are mutually exclusive is that under Section 35 of the Marriage Act, any person who is married under the Act or whose marriage is validated by the Act shall be incapable during the continuance of that marriage of contracting a valid marriage under customary law. If you are married under the Marriage Act, what we call court, what people call court, what I call statutory marriage, you cannot marry under customary law. However, nothing in the Marriage Act shall affect the validity of any marriage constructed under or in accordance with any customary law or any manner or in any manner applied to marriages so contracted. So if you are contracting under that Section 35 of the Marriage Act, if you are contracting a marriage under the Marriage Act, you contract. If you are contracting a marriage under the customary law, you contract. But you see, in these days, in order to give respect to our parents, people who want to contract both marriages, yes, they will do the customary law marriage first with all its conditions, including bride price, yes, and the handing over of the bride, like we mentioned, you understand? And then they will now go to do statutory marriage, which is either going to the court or getting to the registry and then marrying in the church. Now, what we are saying is that if at the end of the day, one of those the statutory marriage fails, the customary law marriage continues. Now you look at section 47 of the Marriage Act, which clearly states that any person who having contracted marriage under the act and during the continuance of some marriage contracts a marriage under customary law shall be liable to imprisonment for 5 years. And now also importance are the provisions of section 114 sub 6 of the Matrimonial Causes Act, which clearly provides that the matrimonial causes under the act shall not have effect in relation to a marriage which is not monogamous in nature. That is statutory marriage. Section 114 subsection 6 of the Matrimonial Causes Act say it shall not have effect in relation to a marriage which is not or which is entered into in accordance with Muslim rights. So it excludes the customary law marriage and the Islamic law marriage. You understand? Or any customary law enforced in Nigeria. Now, one of the most important considerations is the jurisdiction, like I said. By the combined provisions of Section 2, subsection 1 of the Matrimonial Causes Act, and Section 20 sub B of the Marriage Act, it is the High Court of a state that have jurisdiction over statutory marriages, while the customary courts have jurisdiction over customary law marriages. Section 18C of the Customary Court Law of Akwa Ibom State, for instance, states that the customary court shall have unlimited jurisdiction in causes and matters between persons married under customary law or arising from or connected with customary unions. So the two marriages are mutually exclusive. So if at the end of the day your marriage, God forbid, hits the rock and you went to court to end the statutory marriage, the customary court marriage continues. So men, when it happens, just tell the woman after the court session, tell her, look, we are now under, let's go back home. We are now married under native law and custom. Which I can marry 4 wives, so you are one of my wives.
Therefore, if they want to go their separate ways, he has to return.
She has to return the bride price, not he.
Price.
Yes, the first thing that the woman has to do. Why are we teaching these people this thing? I hope you are not having any plans.
No,
It's like you're having plans.
I'm not having any.
Okay, the first thing that the woman has to do is to return the bride price.
Okay.
That is the first thing. And that is subject to if the man accepts to collect. Because if it is me, I will not collect. So the marriage subsists. I will follow you to the court. We will finish with the statutory marriage. We get a decree absolute. Decree nice side, decree absolute. Then we come back home and continue the customary court marriage. Because that one, it is only the return of the bride price that ends that marriage. So if the woman wants to end the marriage, first thing, return the bride price, and before you take the man to the high court. And how do you return that bride price? Is to take the man to the customary court of the area where that marriage was contracted. And then by the time you finish from that court, the bride price is returned. The court hands over the bride price to the husband, the former husband.
Yes.
Then you now get to the court, the high court, to now formally annul the statutory marriage. So I don't know whether my colleague has
anything to add, or we should move to the essentials of a valid marriage. Well, we have only 6 minutes to go, so maybe you will just introduce it. We'll just dwell a bit until the closing time.
I don't have anything to add again to.
Okay, now let's proceed to the essentials of a valid marriage.
The essentials of a valid marriage is one, the capacity to marry.
Okay.
Do the parties have the capacity? Under customary law marriage, I think there is no fixed. I don't know whether it is fixed now. I will check out. But under the statutory marriage, the person has to be about 21 years of age under Section 11 of the Marriage Act. And if at the end of the day the person is not up to that age, I think Section 20 of the Marriage Act stipulates that it is the governor or the high court judge that can give consent if the person is not up to the age of 21. That is the age of capacity.
Yeah.
Then the governor will give a consent.
The governor of the state.
The governor of the state.
Okay, so I have seen marriages below 20, not 20, below 20, which means
statutory marriage.
No,
No, I'm not talking about customary law marriage.
Okay.
If it is customary law marriage, then at any age, provided the person is not really a minor. Don't forget that we have what we call betrothal.
Yes.
They normally betroth children of 10 years, 12 years, you understand. There is always a betrothal, but when it comes to the real marriage, there is an age fixed for the marriage. And then if the child is not up to that age, for instance, the child is 18, and the law says the age should be 21, we are now saying that the governor of that state, when it is now being found out that that person does not have any person in local parentis, what we call local parentis is maybe father's uncle, father's brother. Those are persons in local parentis. If there is nobody in local parentis, then the governor of that state or a high court judge can give the consent. Okay. Because under the statutory marriage, don't forget, there is no bride price. Nobody is collecting bride price under statutory marriage. So that is one of the essentials of a valid marriage. Another essential of a valid marriage is what we were talking about, the prohibited degree of consanguinity and affinity. Okay. The parties must not come within the prohibited degree of consanguinity of affinity. Then the next thing that we have to talk about is complying with the lex loci celebrationis.
Okay. I'd like you to break it down.
The law of the place of the celebration. Okay. That is the lex loci celebrationis. Okay. You have to comply with the marriage act. That marriage has to be conducted, for instance, at a licensed place of worship. It has to be conducted at a licensed place of worship. Okay. And then follow the procedure that was laid down. A marriage certificate has to be issued. It has not to be conducted by a proxy, where a situation where the man is in America and then another man come and sit and say
it happens.
Yes, but we are saying that it is a ground to nullifying that marriage. That marriage is voidable. Okay. For instance, the man is half a man. Half a man that we talk about. He has one eye, he has one leg. And then the man that actually came and sat. You understand? The man that actually came and sat and conducted the marriage has 2 eyes, 2 hands, 2 legs. You understand? A handsome young man. And then by the time the woman is delivered to the husband, he now discovered that he's half a man. You understand? That marriage was procured by fraud. You understand? And is a ground for divorce. It's one of the grounds for divorce, that marriage was procured by fraud. So those are some of the essentials. If we are done with our time, when we come back, maybe we continue from this point, from the essentials.
Like I said, let's just introduce that very question, because we're already running out of time. We have just 2 minutes to go. Yes. So yes, it's been very, very educative. Yeah, sitting with these barristers, I have learnt a whole lot, and I'm sure you have learnt a whole lot. Yeah, the topic is still compatibility of spouses as witnesses and the protection of matrimonial communication. I want to say a very big thank you to you for coming out to lecture myself and of course the audience. I'm sure let me not go there. I'm not yet married, but now I'm having, I'm getting to a lot of things already about marriage. Thank you so much for your valued time. I do not take it for granted. Thank you very much. We'll be coming back your way. The dates will be communicated. I don't know, maybe
next week.
Next week. Okay, so we can see how we can complete this very topic. Thank you so very much. It's been beautiful out here and educative. My name is Ruth Obua, the cinematographers are also saying hello. Thank you so very much. It is 8:29 and I'm officially drawing close our curtains and taking a bow. Till we come your way next time, remain blessed. My name is Ruth Obua.